Hello everyone, welcome to my page. If you're coming back to my page, welcome back. If you're here for the first time, thanks for checking it out. On my page here, we do all kinds of stuff, but in particular for this, we do a story and a cigar. And so it's one of the things I like to do is just sit out on my screen and porch here and enjoy the nice weather and think and reflect and just kind of relax. So tonight, having a Ave Maria Excalibur Nicaraguan cigar. Got this in my cigar.com box this month. I like these cigars. I've had a couple of these brand before, but I also like the wrappers. I think the wrappers on these are super cool. So like I said, if you've been here before, you kind of know how this works. Just want to sit here in my spot and think about pretty significant events in my life, and in particular today. Today is March 10th. It's evening time when I'm recording this, and pretty significant event happened in the life of my family several years ago on March 10th. It's the day that we came home with our youngest son. Our youngest son, Silas, was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And we adopted him. So today, I consider today our gotcha day. My wife and I it's kind of a week really. That's the story I want to tell tonight as we sit here and just enjoy this and relax and talk about Silas and talk about his adoption and what that means to us as a family and what he's meant to us. Like I said, he's from Port-au-Prince in Haiti. Holly and I got married a long time ago. I told that story on the last video about, excuse me, not the last one, the one before that, about how we met and our marriage and all that. But one thing that we both had always had a passion for was adoption. We thought that was an important thing to do, especially as believers, that there's so many kids out there that don't have families, that don't have homes, that are just kind of left and no one to care for them, that when we were in the position where we could do that we wanted to do that. And so several years ago, we started that process. We actually, our plan was to adopt from China. We had we're set to go there as missionaries a long time ago, and ended up about the time that I started having more problems with my leg, and I'll tell that story another day too, but kind of the brakes got put on that. And so we still kind of had a heart for the people there, and so we decided that maybe adopting a baby from China was what we needed to do. And so we started that process, and we actually were denied. They rejected us because of my history with cancer. And, at the time I was, I think, 16 years cancer free. So at that point, the chance of cancer coming back from me was about the same as me getting it again, or something new, or anybody else getting it for that matter. It's probably a better way to say that. And despite the fact that we wrote about 3 different letters trying to explain all those things, that my cancer was gone, that it had been gone for a long time, they still rejected us. And so we weren't allowed to adopt from China because of that, which, was frustrating, because we felt like that's what we were supposed to do. But Lord had other plans. And so our next option, kind of for us, just was Haiti. Paul and I had been there a few years prior to that. After the earthquake, we went down and did some work, some mission work, some rebuilding work, that kind of thing with some folks from our church. And we got to visit an orphanage while we were there, which was just heartbreaking and joyful all at the same time, just to love on those kids, but to know that they all needed a home, that they all needed a place to call a family and all that. And so it was a pretty logical next option for us. And it just so happened that the agency that we were with, while we were trying to adopt from China, also adopted from Haiti. And so we began that process. We started the application process with them, and not long after that, we were matched. We were matched with this little guy who was 18 months old and just, big old round face and looked like a happy little baby, and verbally matched was what they said, which meant that he was not paperwork ready. They didn't have all the paperwork that he needed to be adopted, so that meant that because his birth mother was still alive, that she still had lots of documents to sign and things like that. So we began that process of trying to get all that stuff done. Not long after, though, I don't know, it was probably 6 months or so into the process, Haiti decided they needed to change all of their adoption laws, that they needed to become a Hague nation, which means that they would kind of fall in line with all of the international adoption laws that most other countries fall into. And so that kind of put everything on hold for about 8 months while they changed all their laws and kind of tried to come in line with everything else. So that just kind of set everything back for us as well. But we were told that before that, people could just go to Haiti with a suitcase full of money and come home with a child. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what we were told. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to do it the right way. And so we were kind of thankful that they changed the laws. But like I said, it kind of put everything on hold for a long time for us. So it was a long road. It was about 8 months, like I said, before everything was kind of squared away and we could get to work again. For us, though, it just kind of meant more waiting. Our lives for the next 3 years or so, that's kind of an estimate, but just what I remember, it was about 3 years or so that was just constantly, trying to get the birth mom to these appointments, to see the judge, to sign paperwork, and, then getting word that she didn't show up again. And it just seemed like that happened about every few months. And you would just go through this roller coaster of emotions of, like excitement that she's, we're going to get some of this stuff done. And then the disappointment and frustration and anger that, well, she just didn't show up. And so that was kind of our life for a long time. And that was exhausting. It was frustrating. It was, it made us sad because we knew this child was ours. We just had, we knew that he belonged in our home and as part of our family. And that every time that happened, it was like just a month goes by or another 2 months goes by where he's not a part of us. And so that was tough. It was really, really tough. And I mean, and that literally for about 3 years, we had to deal with that. So we ended up, though, through our adoption agency, we hired a Haitian lawyer to kind of act as our power of attorney / liaison / do whatever down there. This guy's name was Phil Dare, and he was phenomenal. And I'm convinced that if we didn't hire Phil Dare when we did, that we might still be waiting to bring Silas home. But he kind of took care of that for us. Once we hired him to do that, he made sure that the birth mom made it to appointments, and he would go find her, go get her, and make sure that she had food and things like that, and could make it to these appointments, and got things done for us. In November of 2016, we finally got to the point where we could go meet him. Once we got through paperwork stuff, and mind you, we started this in like 2013, so this is about 3 years later, about 3.5 years, I think, later, that Holly and I got the okay to go down and spend a week. Actually, we spent about 2 weeks in country doing what they called a socialization trip. It used to be called a bonding trip, but we stayed in a guest house there that was owned by the orphanage, and so we would go get him, and actually stayed with us. He probably really wasn't supposed to, but we would keep him at the guest house with us, and then we'd take him back to the orphanage during the day, so he could go to his classes, like the little school that they had there. They would have classes every day, and so it was a great time for us to spend the 2 weeks there, and just us, just she and I and him. We were in this guest house, and so we got to eat meals together and play games and just all kinds of stuff, just trying to get to know him and for him to get to know us. And during the day, we'd get to go to the orphanage and kind of play with the other kids, and Holly would get to hold the babies and all that kind of stuff. And so she loved that, of course. The kids would make fun of me because of my leg. I'm an amputee, and so they would all jump around on one leg yelling "Pikake, Pikake," which we kind of figured in Haitian Creole means one leg. So that's about the only Haitian Creole I remember. But that's what we did every day. We would just hang out there, and then at night we would, or late afternoon, evening, we'd go back to the guest house and take him with us, and just be there and just hang out, and it was great. But as you can imagine, leaving him there at the end of that 2 weeks was probably the most brutal thing that we've ever had to endure. Just having to say goodbye, and him not, he was probably 4 years old at the time, didn't understand that. I was 40 something, and I didn't really understand it, why we had to do that, why we couldn't just bring him home. And that was a tough thing to come home to that. And the whole flight, it was just whole flight home, and really often after that was just sadness and joy all at the same time, knowing that this kid was ours, but knowing that he wasn't home with us. That was just that's a pain that's hard to explain. And unless you've been there, I don't know if you can truly grasp it. That's probably the best way to put it. It's just, it hurts. That kid is 3,000 miles away from him, and he's yours, but you can't bring him home yet. That's hard to deal with, and that's what we had to deal with for about 4.5 years total before we brought him home. But about a year later, Holly went back. She got to go visit him, and I wasn't able to go, but that was November of 2017 when she went back. She spent a week with him, and then we finally got the call that everything was ready, I think in about February. And so early March, we all went. Me and Holly got to take Preston and Lydia, and the four of us went down there, and it was on March 6th. That's kind of why we have some debate about what our gotcha day is, because that's the day that we officially, he became ours. Like, we went to the U.S. Embassy in Port-au-Prince and got his passport, and he was officially ours. But we had to stay in country for several days, and came home on the 10th, which is today, which is what I consider his gotcha day, the day that we actually brought him home, like the first night he was at home with us. Preston and Lydia were, I think, 15 and 13 at the time. Preston, our oldest, he was 15, Lydia 13, and so the whole time we were there, he stayed with us. We got to stay in this like hotel/resort type of thing in Port-au-Prince. And if you know anything about Port-au-Prince or Haiti in general, it wouldn't be considered like a super nice hotel here, but down there it was pretty awesome. Had a pool. Kids played in the pool. We sat out by the pool a lot of days. We kind of got to go explore a little bit up in the mountains and see some neat things. Had some people down there that we got to know, that actually some Canadian folks that were down there doing some mission work and stuff, and we got to know them. and they really were a huge help to us, huge blessing, and kind of showed us around. Silas loved Preston and Lydia. Really loved Lydia. Really, I mean, I think the fact that she had this long blonde hair, and I think he was so enamored by that. Like it really, he didn't want to leave her. He didn't want her to leave him alone. She was holding him all the time, and that's what he wanted. That's who he wanted. She was kind of his person, and so even when we came home, he was like that. So like I said, we flew home March 10th, 2018. It was 10 years ago today. 10 years ago today that he came home and became a part of our life. I remember on the way home stopping at Chick-fil-A. It was his first meal in the States was at Chick-fil-A, some nuggets or something at Chick-fil-A. But the next day, we live in Southern Illinois, and the weather around here is we get all 4 seasons. And the next day we woke up and it had snowed. Of course, him being from Haiti in the Caribbean, he didn't know what it was, had never seen it. So we had a lot of fun with that, and I'm pretty sure that on Holly's Facebook page or my Facebook page, there's a video of him reacting to that and yelling glass, glass, like which means ice in Creole. He just thought that was the neatest thing. So he didn't speak very much English when we brought him home. We didn't speak any Creole. Holly knew a little bit. She'd kind of learned some words, just enough to kind of communicate. And so that was kind of how it was for a few months. And then about, summertime hit, and he started learning some phrases, and then we put him in kindergarten in the fall. And Holly she had quit teaching, and she was actually with him as an aide, kind of a personal aide for him, just to help with language stuff and all that. And then once he got in school, man, that language just took off. And I don't know, a month or so into the school year, he said, "Mommy, I don't need you anymore." So she was like happy about that, but kind of brokenhearted as a mama about that too. He was adjusting and adapting, and he was doing well. So it didn't take him long to acclimate. Now he's a 6th grader. It's hard to imagine that he's in junior high here, and it's that's middle school for us. Plays basketball. I was his coach this year. I coached 6th and 7th graders, and so I got to coach him in basketball this year. And he's played a little baseball growing up. He didn't really like it. He loves basketball. He plays the trombone in the band. Loves video games. He has a 4-wheeler. He loves riding around. He loves playing with his cousins. He's just pretty normal kid, and he's a blessing to us. He's a blessing to our whole family. So I'm excited about what the Lord has in store for him and his life, and how he had a plan for that kid, and to bring him out of what he was in, and to give him a home like he has, and to give him a family that loves him. And it's just amazing to think about that. It's amazing to think about how God does that. And one thing that I want to always make clear to him, though, and to anyone else for that matter, is that he's my son. He's not my adopted son. He's my son. He's just as much my child as Preston and Lydia. Holly and I have always said that we don't have 2 kids and an adopted kid. We have 3 kids. And we want to make sure he always knows that. We want to make sure other people know that too. It's obvious, him being Haitian, that he's not. He doesn't look like us, but he's one of us, and he fits right in, and he's a blessing to us, and that's what adoption is, right? That's what the Lord does for us. He brings us into His family. He makes us His own. And that's what we've done for him. That's what we've done for Silas. We've been fortunate. He's a gift to us. Thankful for that. So that's my story about Silas and about his adoption, and thinking about bringing him home 7 years ago today. So I'm going to sit out here enjoy the rest of this, and just think about that, and just be grateful for what the Lord's done in our lives through him, and what he's going to do. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for spending a little time with me tonight. I hope you'll give this video a like and subscribe to my page if you haven't. And till then, we'll see y'all next time. Have a good night.